other question, which is a nice one Vanessa was asking, if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you, which is a truism. It was true then, and it's still true today. It's an economic truism that once the fundamentals weaken, you will see the impact on the exchange rate fundamentally. And when we talk about many of these fundamentals, you're talking about the GDP growth rate, you're talking about the fiscal balance, you're talking about the exchange, the reserves, level of the reserves that you have, inflation, and so on. When we came into office, during the first term between 2017 and 2019, you saw the fundamentals pretty much strengthening by all accounts. And the exchange rate depreciated in those 3 years by less than 5%. That was the lowest depreciation in the currency for 28 years. 28 years. That was the lowest depreciation of the currency. I think we went up, even after COVID, we didn't get that high a depreciation. But the biggest shock for the economy came in 2022. All hell was breaking loose in 2022. Inflation, 54%, as at November 2022. Exchange rate had depreciated 54%. And of course, you could look at the fundamentals were in trouble at that time. You saw the fiscal deficit going up, you saw inflation going up, growth declining. And so for me, it wasn't surprising, even though it was shocking, the extent to which the exchange rate went. So the point that we are making is that once the fundamentals weaken, you will get it shown in the exchange rate. And this is why we have seen that recently, even though we're depreciating in November at 54%, this year the depreciation has been 18.6% so far, right? We're looking at about 18.6%. So you're looking at a situation this year. Why is the depreciation lower? Because the fundamentals have strengthened. The fiscal deficit is under 5%. We are running a primary surplus. Growth has gone up first quarter to 4.7%, higher than projected. The reserves are increasing, and the gold for oil program is helping. So as the fundamentals and inflation today is around 20%, so there's been a strengthening of the fundamentals, and you've also seen more relative exchange rate stability. In all of this, and I want you to take this away. When I looked at what was happening in 2022, the 54% depreciation of the cedi, it was very scary. In fact, in 2022, this economy was on the verge of collapse, because you saw our reserves declining very steeply. The exchange rate was blowing up, inflation was up, and my worry at that time, frankly, was that I could see this country moving towards Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka was what was clearly in my mind at that time, because you saw protests in Sri Lanka. They had no fuel. Jumso was there. And when you saw the way our reserves were moving in 2022, we were heading right in that direction, that we were going to get queues on the street. We couldn't buy fuel. We couldn't pay for so many things. And it was in that context that I came up with two policies. One was the gold for oil policy and the gold purchase program of the Bank of Ghana. Because when I looked at it, sometimes when they say necessity is the mother of invention, because when I looked at it, we were headed for disaster, But I made the case. I looked at the numbers, and I said, well, how are we going to get foreign exchange to buy fuel in this declining reserves? And then I looked at gold. I said, let's take a look at gold. I looked at the reserves of gold that we had, and it was 8.7 tons. 8.7. That is from independence to 2022. Our gold reserves were 8.7 tons. 8.7. I mean, when you look at the US, they had 8,000 tons in gold reserves. The UK, Germany, France, all above 2,000, 3,000 tons. And Ghana, the largest gold producer in Africa, had 8.7 tons. So I said this is something that we need to change. And so Ghana needs to start, because the thing about gold for us is that we don't have to export anything to get gold. If we have cedis, we'll buy gold right here locally. So we can use our cedis to buy gold without needing to export cocoa or oil or diamonds or timber. We just buy the gold locally. That is what we have that many countries don't have. It's just something that many countries don't have that opportunity to do so. So I then came up with that idea that let's do, since we don't have forex at the bank to pay for oil, let's use gold. And therefore we went into this gold for oil and gold purchase program for reserves. And what is very, very interesting, frankly, without this gold for oil, the gold purchase program, this economy would have collapsed. There's no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt in my mind. Why do I say so? In the last couple of years, Bank of Ghana under the gold purchase program has been able to buy $5 billion of gold. $5 billion of gold. Think about it. We've gone to the IMF to look for $3 billion, which is going to be paid over 3 years. And this is why we are going through. But locally, we've been able to buy $5 billion. And this is why there are no queues for petrol. This is why Dumso has not happened in Ghana. Because otherwise, where would you have gotten $5 billion from your reserves? Where would you have gotten $5 billion from your reserves to keep up all the payments you needed to make? So that has been, for us, the game changer. And so the pilot that we are seeing with the gold purchase program and the gold for oil program, I want to institutionalize it going forward. And this is why, by the grace of God, when I am president next year, we are going to institutionalize this. Someone asked me, why is it that the French West African countries have not seen depreciations in their currency? Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, and all of these. I said, well, they are anchored. The currency is anchored to the euro through the French franc. So they are anchored. Unfortunately for Ghana, we don't have an anchor. There is no anchor for the city. So what I am going to introduce, what I want to institutionalize, is something that we have learned from this crisis. You will not find it in any textbook. Maybe some people will now write it in a textbook. You won't find it in a textbook. It's not in a textbook. Because what I'm going to do is fairly simple, as I said, but we have had to learn about it. Because what we are going to do is to say that if you want foreign exchange, and we've tried it already, the pilot with some of the big companies. One big company had 3.1 billion Ghana cedis. They wanted to externalize 3.1 billion Ghana cedis. And they were looking for foreign exchange. Can you imagine the impact on our market? If someone comes out with 3.1 billion cedis looking for dollars. So they were trying to talk to the Bank of Ghana and all of that. So their chairman flew into the country and came to see me and said, we are having these problems and we have to externalize our dividends and all of that. We have 3.1 billion and we are looking for dollars. So looking for dollars from all the banks and all of that. So I listened to them and then I asked, will you take gold? They said, oh sure, gold is forex. That is not a problem. So I called the governor and I said, look, why don't we put this 3.1 billion through the gold purchase program? And guess what? It was done virtually overnight. And their money was given to them. So essentially, what we're saying is that the demand for the dollars, you bring your cedis. We have the gold. There's no doubt. I mean, the gold is there. I mean, we have 5 billion ounces, even not yet explored, as the Geological Survey Authority has told us. That's $10 trillion. Right? So bring your cedis, we buy the gold, give you your forex. It's that simple. So your demand for the forex will be met by an equal supply of gold, and Ghana will see stability of the currency long term. So we're looking for a simple solution to a long-term stability for the cedi. And that is what we are bringing in, and that is what is happening. What I'll tell you, and I'm sure maybe some of you have heard, is that other countries have started coming to Ghana to learn about our gold purchase program. Yeah, other countries have started coming. The Bank of Ghana is inundated with requests for people to come and learn. As I said, this is not in textbooks, but this is what we are doing. So I think that the fundamentals ultimately has an impact on the exchange rate, but the crisis that we have gone through has now made us to think a bit outside the box and bring in this new solution. Now, Abna Pukia was asking about Galamsey and what we are doing about it. And I yo. Any maminka chi kakra. Galamsey